you might take those for granted. It might feel nice just to have the options, but really you're just so set on that one thing that you might miss out on different things that could potentially be better. Hello, 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 and welcome to Mercury Rising. This is another Keeping Up with the Moon, and this is August 15th. Like always, these delineations come from my Instagram. You don't necessarily need both, but it's always best if you do get a little bit of both. Perks of the Instagram is that it's just a little short passage that you can read real quick, but it also comes with the image, the same image that is in the thumbnail of this YouTube video, but over there you actually get to see the full picture, and I make an effort to make those collages with some symbolic consideration, so it might even be useful for you to just sit with the images and reflect on it a little bit and see how those symbols are prominent in your day in any way, shape, or form. And I would really love to know if you make any of those discoveries in the comments, but if you don't have any discoveries, that's fine too. You can leave a like. A like is just as good. So yes, with that said, let's get to August 15th. I don't know about you, but I'm really loving those gnarly chords. Just the visceral feeling that it gives me. And it's like, this is the day. This is like the moon is gonna go through all these notes throughout the day. It's like, huh. How is that? How does that make me feel about today, you know? One thing that's important to pay attention to is that even though you might not like how it sounds, that doesn't mean that the day is going to be bad, because it sounds not like the traditional sort of chord structure that you're used to. I think that one good thing to pay attention to is that what does this chord feel? Does it feel constricted? Does it feel open? Does it feel like it's leading somewhere? Or does it feel like it came from somewhere? Because I think those sorts of ideas can give you a really interesting harmonic narrative. Yeah, not for everybody, but I still am putting them there because I like them and I think they're fun. So anyways, let's get to it. So it is August 15th today, and the moon's quite busy. She will make aspects to the sun, Venus, Pluto, and Jupiter all in one day. And I think that's why that chord that you just heard sounds so gnarly. The more notes that you put in, the less pleasant it is to listen to it, just because there's a lot going on. So with that, get ready for a day with a lot going on. Cool. So the moon's still in Scorpio, but it's now in one of the decans that I honestly think is one of my favorites. It's a little bit of a tricky one. It's symbolized by Venus in Scorpio, and Venus is in detriment in Scorpio, so you can expect a little bit of the tensions and all of that. But with Venus as also the goddess of love in the sign of desire, when those things get mixed together, and the profundity or profundity, I don't know. You tell me what the right word is. That you find there can be a little bit overwhelming. And I tried to look for images for that specific decan, and I did, because I didn't want to use just the Rider-Waite. I really want to make this channel as artsy as possible and really try to study how to use astrology with art and how art can help us understand astrology. So I looked for a painting that embodied that. And this guy, Christopher Charles, he actually painted his own version of the Seven of Cups. And as you can see over here, it's quite a cool picture. But I think that it really embodies the energy of what that decan is all about. If we're talking about desire, you're having this face looking down and seeing all these cups. And if you look into the Rider-Waite too, you still have those cups with different things, and it's all about choice and having many different choices and not knowing exactly what it is that you want, because everything looks somewhat desirable. And there's that sense of like, this feels good, but maybe there's more. I want the more, you know? And I think that's the struggle of Venus in Scorpio, is that always wanting a little bit more and always wanting to go deeper. Like, yes, even in a very constructive sense, let's say as a painter. Let's suppose that Charles here actually has Venus in Scorpio. So what a painter as Venus in Scorpio could be is painting this picture and always like adding more to it, and adding more and adding more and adding more, because it always feels like there's more that can be conveyed and there's more that can be interpreted. Like it feels like, if you look at the picture, it feels like the face is falling down to the depths with all these options, and the options are passing by. The passing by of these options is really the major theme of today. And it's actually not really attributed to Venus so much. Venus does play a role in it because she does still aspect the moon, but it's really the sun and Jupiter who are to blame. So we're gonna get to that. Before we skip into it, I really just want to close this thought really nice. The Decan of the moon today is about making that choice, or not making the choice, but just gaining clarity on what it is that you truly desire. Yes, you have all these options, but what is it that you truly desire? We're going to explore this a little bit with the Sun and Jupiter situation, so let's go. So the primary reason why I'm blaming the Sun and Jupiter here is because of the T-square that the moon is making between both of them. Like, it's not a perfect T-square, but I think it's enough for us to talk about. Jupiter's retrograde, so it would be applying to the Sun, who's also moving towards it. So they're steadily getting closer and closer to each other to complete that opposition, which will be actually the full moon, and we'll get to that later. Later, not today. Later. The thing with a T-square between Sun, Moon, and Jupiter is that you wouldn't necessarily expect the Sun or Jupiter to be, I guess, negative or malefic planets in a way. So you won't expect a square or even an opposition to be terribly difficult. And I think that that's the difficulty. I think with the opposition from Sun to Jupiter, and this is definitely informed by the delineations of Firmicus Maternus when he talks about Jupiter in opposition. But yeah, so this is what he says. And disclaimer, if you do have Sun opposite Jupiter, don't take this literally. I actually do have Sun opposite Jupiter, and some of this is true, but not entirely. So let's not jump to conclusions without taking the whole chart into consideration. But he says, if Jupiter and the Sun are in opposition, they waste the paternal inheritance and destroy all income. They cause demotion from former high office, so that the natives are always in an inferior position. These misfortune are less in a diurnal chart, so it's a day chart, and stronger in a nocturnal chart, so a night chart. But this is in a natal context. We're not talking about this so much in a natal context. We're talking about transits. So one thing that I was thinking about is how can that possibly be translated through transit? And the idea that I had is that if we're talking about wasting the paternal inheritance, it could be the wasting of opportunities. And I think that he really talks about the paternal thing just because of the Sun. So we can expect opportunities to come from like male figures or fatherly figures, even women who embody that fatherly sort of archetype. With that, I feel like the opposition is that the chance for wasting away a given opportunity. But why would we waste away such an opportunity if it's presented to us? And that's the big question here. And I think that what gives us a hint is the decans that they're all in. Like I was saying, the moon is in the decan of Venus in Scorpio, so it embodies all those choices and all those really deep, insatiable desire. The Sun, on the other hand, is in the decan of Mars in Leo, and it's about defending what you believe in and defending what you feel like it's part of you. It's not literally you, but it's an idea or a pursuit that very much aligns with your sense of identity. And then now Jupiter, on the other hand, is this is in the decan of moving forward, of moving on. It's the Seven of Swords, and you see the guy stealing the swords and dropping those two behind because he has to leave, has to go somewhere, he has to peace out. So I think that, especially with the Jupiter thing, this piecing out sort of imagery is that maybe the opportunity that's presented to us doesn't necessarily align with, if we're talking about Jupiter piecing out, with that goal, with yes, Jupiter's piecing out, but where is he going? There might be a little bit of a dissonance with the opportunity at hand and the thing that you expected to get. And that could be one of the reasons why we might deny it. Because again, we're in that Venus in Scorpio Decan where we want to go deeper. We want to know, like, okay, so this is the thing, but is there more to it? I want to know more. And this is even further enhanced by the double sextile out here with the moon and Pluto, and then the moon and Venus, which also means then that Venus separating, but trying to Pluto nonetheless. So I think that double sextile really closing in on the moon, even if it's one of the positive aspects, can come to hinder it. Because one of the things that I was really thinking about with the Venus, Moon, and Pluto trifecta is this idea of like being comfortable where you are, or being comfortable with that specific goal. Because you're so focused on going deeper on that one given thing that you don't want to look at anything else. And even if you have all those other options, you might take those for granted. It might feel nice just to have the options, but really you're just so set on that one thing that you might miss out on different things that could potentially be better. And hence going back to Firmicus Maternus, what he was saying about losing the inheritance, or losing that gain, or not gaining something that you could have otherwise. So I guess that bears the question, is comfort really what you need right now? Are you really set on this idea and it feels comfortable and that's why you want to dive deeper in it? Or are you just settled, so you're not really looking anywhere else for opportunities? There's no right answer. You can be comfortable and that's totally fine, but it's also important to really be open to different ideas or different opportunities or different paths. If we're talking about, again, Jupiter over there, and this is the thing that we're going to keep going back to with Jupiter in that last decan of Aquarius, is it's ruled by the moon, and the moon doesn't move in straight lines. It moves in the squiggliest of paths. It's not reliable. Me as a Cancer ascendant and sun, I cannot stick to the plan. That's not a thing that I do. And I know many other Cancer natives who also are just the same. Well, and that works out. It's an option to how to tackle things. The linear way is not always the way. So be open to some deviations. And if we're going back to the Saturn as the big boss with this full moon, maybe it's time for take a little bit of to reroute, see different options, and maybe you're going to find a new teacher. And this is foreshadowing a little bit of Sagittarius in the new path that you're going to take. So with that, I hope that made sense. I hope I gave you enough to think about for today. Yes, let me know in the comments if you have been enjoying these, and if you don't want to comment, just like. Again, a like is just as good, and it takes 2 seconds. So do that, and I'll see you tomorrow. I'm doing these for free, so that's the least you could do. So anyways, bye bye. I'd like to take this moment to thank and credit my teachers and people who have influenced me throughout my studies. These are also people who I may quote from time to time: Thaddeus Fallons, Dimitra George, Patrick Watson, Firmicus Maternus, Dorotheus, Lisa Scheim, Austin Coppa, Kelly Surtees, Gemini Brett, Samuel Reynolds, Hermes, T. Susan Chang, Mel Meline, Chris Brennan, Saint Expedite, Gordon White, Connor Habib, and Eric L. Arnenson.